Good evening and welcome to True Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. As always, man, like I said, I love all of y'all and I miss y'all so much. And I'm grateful for the likes, the comments, the ones who have subscribed to my channel. I am very grateful for all of y'all and all the positive things that you say about my sightings and encounters. Um, like I always, sometimes I just want to talk to y'all before I get into this encounter. Like me, man. This is my passion. I wouldn't say I got an obsession with it. It's just something I'm just curious. Like a lot of other people, I want to find out what these things really are. I mean, what make them tick? What make them do the things that they could do? And I hope that I'm here long enough that I can, find the answer so I can share it with all of you guys. Doug, man. I mean, what are they? I really don't know. You know, I believe that like I said before, flesh and blood. I believe they just flesh and blood. Um, do I think they come from other dimensions? I really don't know the answer to that because I don't know. Some people say that they have been seen with aliens on their shoulder. I have seen pictures of that. Um, I don't know where they come from. How they was created. Some people think that they was created by the Nephilim, the fallen angels, when they made it with the women of earth, they made it with animals. That part, I don't know. I wasn't back there to see, to say, yeah, they made it with this wolf, they made it with this coyote, they made it with this jackal, they made it with this lamb or whatever. I don't know the answer to that, and that's things that I want to find out. Like I said, I do a lot of work by myself. I haven't really been back out in the field, but I'm gonna start going out, because I don't know, probably about 2.5 weeks ago, um, I had this was through a mutual friend too. He had gotten in touch with this lady for me who had a sighting while she was driving, on her way to work because she worked the graveyard shift where she had a sighting at. So I haven't talked to her yet, but hopefully I'll be able to talk to her and get her encounter so I can share it with y'all. Like I said, like I told y'all before about my mother seeing these giant canine dogs when she was a little girl. I just wish she would have told me more, but like I said, she only told us about it that one time and she wouldn't speak about it no more after that. And I didn't question her about it because I was still young at the time. I didn't know what a Doug man was, or I never even heard the word back then. Wasn't nobody really talking about stuff like that. When I was coming up, yeah, I used to look at TV shows that had Bigfoot on it and everything and stuff like that. But them things that at one time I didn't believe in them. But now I believe in these creatures, these cryptids, and I believe it's a lot of different kinds out there, you know. Um, like I said, man, I just want to find out what these Doug men's are. How can they do some of the things that they do? How these creatures can blend in so good and you don't even know they there. I'm not gonna take up too much of y'all time. But like I said, I wanted to save what I'm gonna call the best for last, because this encounter right here just came to me by a mutual friend, and it happened this year. It happened this year. So that's why I'm real happy about it. But it came through a mutual friend. And it happened on New Year's Day. Now, when my friend put me in contact with this lady, she was willing to give me her encounter, but she didn't want to tell me where it happened at, And I don't push a person to tell me where it happened at or nothing like that. I just be happy just to get it. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right into this new encounter. We're gonna call this the 2020 Doug Man. Because like I said, this the the first one of the year for me. So I'm happy about that. So the name I'm gonna use, because I can't use a name either. So the name I'm gonna use is Miss Kathy. Miss Kathy said that as any other day, she got up, got herself together because she was going to family house, to eat and celebrate, New Year's. Even though it was already New Year's Day the first, she was just going over there, spend time with family, eat, and then, go back home. So she get up, get herself together, go downstairs, ate a little breakfast, and proceeded to head out the door and head on over to her family's house. So she said while she's driving, now where she from, she said a lot of these roads that she drive on, it's just it just look like it's desolate. She said it looked like it's desolate road. So she said she's driving, down one of this road. Now, mind you, this is in the daytime. She on her way, to her family's house. So she said she's driving, and and she said while she's driving, she got the radio on. She said, but it's she got it on, real low. So she, listening to some music, and she's driving. She said, so as she's driving, she said she comes around, a little small curve. When she come around this little small curve, she comes around the curve. She said, and as she's coming around the curve, she noticed that on the left-hand side, as she's coming around this curve, she see a black figure, what at the time that she thought, was a dove. And she said when she looked over there at it, she said it looked like it was just, like a dove would sit back on its, on its butt. She said it looked like that. She said, but when she looked at it, she said that something was off about it. She said because it looked like it was sitting back on its butt. And she said it looked like it was just too big. And she looking at this thing. She said, and as she's watching it, it's watching her. So as she's going around the curve, now mind you, as she's coming around the curve, this thing that she see is on the left-hand side. So she coming around the curve. So she looking at this thing and she see this, what she thought was a dove. She noticed that the head is moving as she's still bending the curve, coming around on the straightaway. So as she get back on the straightaway and she going up, she says she just sitting there. Now she pondering. She's saying, that's a big dug, you know. So she brushes it off, you know, she continued to drive. So when she gets to her family house, you know, she, you know, go in, you know, tell everybody Happy New Year and stuff like that, you know. So they sitting down, they talking, and you know what I mean, they sitting around, you know, telling jokes and stuff like that, talking about things that happened in 2019. So she pulled her brother to the side and she said, on my way here, when I was coming around the curve, she said, on the left hand side, I seen something. You know, she said, you know how Doug would sit on his back butt? You know, I seen, well, I guess it was a Doug just sitting on his back butt. She said, but this thing was, it was just huge. It was big. She said, and I was saying to myself, it looks too big to be a Doug. And he said, you sure? She said, look, I know what I saw. She said, I guess it was a Doug, you know. She said, you know what? Never mind. Just forget about it. She said, so how you been? You know, and they was just started talking, you know what I mean? So they sitting around in the living room, you know. So finally, you know, they goes in and they sits down and they eats dinner. So they sitting there and they eating dinner. So the brother said, you know, he just came out of the clear blue. He said, hey sis, won't you tell him about the big Doug you seen? You know, he was just, yeah, I guess he was just, I don't know if he was being funny or just making a joke out of it. She said, tell him about the big Doug you seen. She said, why would you do that? You know what I mean? And, you know, the rest of her family members say, come on now, just tell us. She said, okay, but please don't laugh at me. You know, they said, come on, we're not going to laugh at you. She sat there. She said, well, you know, while I was on my way here, I was coming around that curve. Y'all know that curve? I said, yeah. She said, when I was coming around the curve, on the left-hand side, she said, I noticed what, you know, it looked like to me was a dove. Looked like it was just sitting back, you know, just sitting on its tail or, you know, its haunches or whatever. She said, but it looked too big to be a dove. She said, and I was coming around and I peeped over and looked at it. I could see that his head was just moving and following me in my direction as I was coming around to go back on the straightaway. So she was like, so they said, was it a Doug? She said, I mean, I guess it was a Doug. She said, but it looked too big to be a Doug, you know. So everybody said, well, if you say you seen a Doug out there, you seen a Doug. They said we do have, you know, wild dogs out here. You know, we got coyotes and stuff like that. She said, but that just was too big to just be a ordinary wild dog or coyote. You know, this thing was huge, and you know, so she told her little story about what she thought she saw, and they left it alone. So after dinner, you know, they go back in, you know, the front room. They sit down there and they talking, you know what I mean? And they everyone was in there. They was exchanging gifts, you know what I mean? Giving each other, you know, gifts, you know what I mean, that they didn't give on Christmas and stuff like that. So it was getting late. So she said that you know, I'm finna go, you know, because it's getting late and I don't wanna be driving out there when it gets too late. So she got up, hugged everybody, you know, gave everybody a kiss. And, you know, she said, I'll call you to let you know I made it home safe. So she went out, got out. They walked outside. You know, she got in the car and she, you know, started it up. She said when she started up, they went back in the house. And she said she sat there, you know, sat there for a few minutes because she's still thinking about earlier today, you know, what she saw. You know, she can't get it out of her head. So she had to muster up, you know, this courage so she could just go ahead and drive and just go ahead on home. She said, so she pulls out, she continued to drive. You know, so she driving. And she said, you know, while she was driving, you know, on the right hand side, she said as she was driving down this straightaway, she noticed, you know, like a family, like it was like a like a family of deers. She said she see them, just, off the side of the road, because it was an opening right there. It was like it was an open field right there. You know what I mean? She didn't get to the tree lines yet. But it was just like an open field, and she saw like a family of deers, just off of the side of the road right there. So she, continued to drive. Now, mind you, she said she was not driving fast. I think she said the speed limit was, I think, 35 or something like that, 45. But anyway, she said she wasn't even driving fast. She said because on this stretch of road that she was on, she said it's barely cars going up and down this road. You know what I mean? So you might see a car once every 45 minutes to an hour. So anyway, she's driving, you know what I mean? Now she said it's just completely pitch dark. You know what I mean? You don't see nothing, you know what I mean, except from the lights. So she continued to drive. And she said as she's driving, she coming off that straightaway. She say she gets right back to the curve. The same curve as she was coming up. She going around this curve to go back. So she said she slowed down even slower coming around this curve. So she said she driving, coming around this curve. So as she was coming around, her lights hit something. Said her lights hit a dark field, and so she pushes on the brakes. She stopped. So when she looked, she said she eased up by the steering wheel, and she looked. She said she see that same dark figure that she seen earlier that day. She said, but at this time, she said she only see the back of it. So she looking, she was like, I mean, it's sitting back on, I guess, his butt or the haunches or whatever. So she, beep, beep, she hit the horn. She said when she hit the horn, she said this thing turned his head. She said when it was starting to turn his head, she said she could see the snout. She see the snout sticking out. She said that's when she see these ears. She said the ears straight up. Bing, bing, the ears go straight up. You know what I mean? This thing just turning around. She said when it's turning around, she said now she could see the eyes. She said she see the eyes now. She said they was that amber yellow color eyes. She said and they was big and they was bright. So she said she looking at this thing. She said she's still watching it. She said now she messed up in the head. She said this thing is turning his head around. Now mind you, she stopped. She ain't moving, but she watching this thing. She said so as she watching this thing and this thing turning his head, she said that's when this thing just started to stand. She said that thing started to stand. She said when it started to stand up, she said she heard, she said she heard like when you standing up and your joints pop in your leg, like you can hear that popping sound. She said she heard that when this thing started to stand up. Now these are her words. These are her words. This is what she told me. So how she gave it to me, I'm giving it to y'all. She said she could hear the popping noise when this thing stood up. Like, just like when we stand up and sometime if we sleeping down and we can have that popping noise in our legs. So she said she hear that because she said she didn't have her window all the way down. She had her windows cracked. So she watching this thing. She said when this thing stood up, she said this thing turned. And she said when it turned around, she know that this thing had shoulders. She said this thing chest was just massive. She said this thing had long arms. She said, but in his right hand, that's what she said this thing had, hands. She said in his right hand, this thing had a raccoon that it was eating on. This thing had a raccoon that it was eating on. She said this thing just watching her. And she looking at this thing. Now she's scared. She said she don't know what to do. So she said she rolled all her windows up and she made sure them doors was locked. So she's still watching this creature. And she's still sitting there. She said, so as this creature was watching her, she said this creature did something, man, that it fucked her head up, she said. She said this creature was watching her. And she said, you know how a person would take their head and just, tilt it like to the side and look at you? She said this creature did exactly that. She said this creature tilted its head to the side and it looked at her. She said, and when it looked at her, she said it looked like it had a smirk on its face, like it was smiling. She said, but it wasn't. She said, but that's what it looked like to her. She said, and it held its head like that, and then it put it back up. She said, so now she really scared. Because she's scared to ride past this thing. Because she don't know if it's going to jump out in front of her car or nothing. So she's standing there. Just sitting right there. Ain't moving at all. But she watching this creature. She said that's when this creature walked out the little ditch that it was in. And it stood out in the street facing her. And the lights is on this thing. And it's fucking me up now. Maybe some of these things like light, and maybe some of them don't. She said, but this thing was out on the road. It was out on the street. And the lights was on it. She said, and as she watching this creature, she said this creature started to walk towards her car. She said this creature started to walk towards her car. She said, so she put this car in reverse. Now, mind you, she coming around this curve. So now she backing up out of this curve, or trying to. She said, but she doing it slow. So she gotta watch this creature, and she gotta look through that motherfucking rearview mirror. But she trying to back this thing up because she don't want to wind up in a ditch or nothing like that. So she said as she was backing up, she said the creature stopped. She said this thing stopped. She said that's when she pushed on the brakes. Said she held her feet on the brakes, but she's still watching this thing. It's like this thing taunting her. She said that's when this creature walked over to the left-hand side of the tree line. Said it walked over to the left-hand side of the tree line. She said it didn't go in the tree line. Said it stayed in the street. She said it stayed on the road. But it's still watching her. So she's sitting and she's still watching this thing. She's still watching this thing. Because she don't know what to do. She said she was so scared she didn't even want to use her phone. But she's still watching this creature. Because she fucked up in the head about what she's saying. Because she don't know what the fuck it is. But she watching this thing. She said, and as she watching this thing, she said this thing started to walk towards her again. She said she was so scared, she didn't move her car at all. She just stayed there. She said that thing walked up to her car. Now, mind you, she said it still had that dead raccoon in its right hand. She said it walked up to her car. She said this thing was huge. It towered over her car. She said this thing bent over, kneeled down, and it looked in her window. She said, and when it looked in her window, She said this thing raised his left hand and ran his claws down her window. She said she could hear it. She could hear it make the sound as it was scratching the window. She said these things had to be sharp, because she said it like it scratched her glass. She said when that thing did that, she said she sat in that car and she started to cry. She said tears rolled down her face. She said that's when she turned and she looked forward. She said because she was so scared to look in this creature's eyes. She said this creature was breathing so hard and heavy that it was fogging up her window. She said that's how that creature was breathing on her window. She said that she was facing, and she had her face towards her stern wheel in the front window. She said because she couldn't look at this thing. She said because it was something about his eyes, man, and his face. She said this thing, it's like, she said it's like something that you should see on TV, not in real life. So she said she faced it forward by her stern wheel and that front windshield. And she said she started praying. She started praying like she never did before. She said, and she sat there and she prayed and she asked God to take this evil away from me. I have served you. She said she was saying all type of stuff. She said, and when she looked up, that creature was gone. She said the creature was gone. But when she turned around and looked back forward, she said that creature left that dead, half-eaten raccoon on the hood of her car. She said she was so scared she didn't even get out to take it off the hood. She said she could continue going on around that turn the way she came up and get back on that straightaway and go home. So she said she driving and going home, she pulls in up in her yard, whatever, gets out, goes in the house. She calls her brother. When she called her brother, he answered the phone. She say, look, I got to tell you something. So he was like, what? She said, remember I was telling you about, I seen that, the dog, but I ain't know if it was a dog because it just looked too big. Now she hysterical, she crying on the phone. And she said, well, I seen it again. And he said, okay, well, you said it was a dog. She was like, no, it wasn't a dog. She said, this thing stood up on 2 feet. He said, come on now, stop playing now. Now the dog thing was cool, but now you just going too far. She said, I swear to you, this thing stood up on 2 feet. It looked like a giant wolf, a werewolf. And he was like, and Bashi just kept crying on the other line, telling them that, it must have really sunk into his head, she said, because he said, okay, sis, calm down. I'm so sorry. I believe you. I believe you saw what you saw, and then, they talked a little bit more. And then, he said, just, stay in the house, make sure everything locked up. You know what I mean? Don't go back out, you know what I mean? And I'll be over there to check on you in the morning. So she hung up on the phone with him. She said she did what she did every night, took a shower and everything, went in her room, sat down on the side of her bed, thinking about what she saw. Thinking about what was it? Thinking about how the hell can a dog walk on its back legs and have an upper body of a human? She said she's sitting there thinking about all this stuff. She's sitting there thinking about all this stuff. She said as she was out there during the time that she watching this creature, she said it would seem like 30 to 40 minutes. She said it wasn't even that long. She said it wasn't even that long. She said, but when you watching and you looking at this thing, she said it's like time just stopped, like it just slowed down. She said, but the sighting wasn't that long. But she said the only thing that helped her through that was prayer. Because she said when she held her head back up, that creature was gone. You know, and she said ever since she had her sightings, she been having nightmares. Ever since she seen that thing, she been having nightmares. She said, but she always pray. And she always keep her faith in God that he gonna keep her safe and everything gonna be all right. And that was her encounter, man. And that was one of my new ones, man. And it happened this year. Like I said, I was happy to get it. You know, man, these things is terrible, man. They just out here to put fear in your heart to make you scared of them. And that's what it did to that young lady, man. And hope y'all enjoy that. You know, thumbs up, likes, you know what I mean? Put something in the comments, man, if y'all want me to do something different. Like I said, that's a 2020 Doug, man, for y'all. I love y'all so much. I'm going to keep it coming. I'm going to keep it better. You know what I mean? And we're going to be number one. We're going to be the number one Doug Man channel out there. Man, this your boy Marvin Allen, and I'm out.